We're on to our seventh session, one that unravels the art of creating the jingle. Our guest is the award-winning singer, music composer, and producer, Nandini Srikar. She studied classical music from a very early age, and by the time she was 3, she was already playing the veena. She went on to learn to play the sitar, the guitar, and also learn the dance form Bharatnatyam. And as if that wasn't enough, she earned a master's degree in pure mathematics from Osmania University and a degree in information systems management. So a passionate hobby turned into a profession when she was invited to sing for a film in 1997 by the singer Hariharan. Are you familiar with Hariharan? Okay. How many of you listen to music? How many of you play music? Nobody plays music. I can't believe that. Well, there are some hands at the back. How many of you dance? Dance like CJ or classical forms of dance? Okay, all right. So Nandini was an instant hit, and she started assisting several music composers. Today, she is a much sought-after composer in the world of advertising and has released several successful ad jingles for popular national and international brands.
Good evening. It's really very nice to be here. And since we have half an hour to speak about this, I'd like to come straight to the point because there's so much I want to say. If we have enough time, we'll definitely go through a question-answer session after this. But can we go through the first slide, please? The one after this. This was something I saw written on a billboard many years back in Mumbai. It said, "Not advertising your product is like winking at a girl in the dark. You know what you're doing, but she doesn't." And this pretty much sums up advertising and what it really is all about. Now, the earliest advertising that slide number 2, please. The earliest advertising that we would have seen in terms of somebody trying to sell his product would be this guy on the street singing Chana Jor Garam and selling it to you. I don't know how many people here, the younger crowd, how many of you have actually seen somebody singing on the street and trying to attract a crowd? Yeah, but those of us who have lived on this planet for quite a bit, we have seen these. You know, maybe today if you go to the villages, you still find somebody singing and trying to attract attention to sell his product. Now, in advertising today, audiovisual is what I will jump straight into. That is one of the best medium used for trying to sell, where a brand is trying to sell a product or a service. Now, where does next slide, please. Now, where does the music director come into the picture? The last person to enter that stream of audiovisual. First thing is, let's move on, please. Next. The one after that. What happens is there is a particular idea that the agency has, and they have a campaign, and a production house, with a film director, they create a film, and once the film is done, then they approach a music director to add music. The value of music is essentially to enhance the value of the film, to enhance the value of sales, to attract people's attention to the product or the service. And as a music director, I never get to know until I reach the studio what the film is all about and what the product is really all about. For us, we are more concerned with the creative process. There is a film that is made. What is the film all about, and how do we figure out how to give the appropriate music for it? Now, this is what from a purely technical point of view, we use a computer-based workstation, which we have a DAW, and this is what our project essentially looks like. We import like an MPEG file, the video file, into the project, and this is kind of what our computer screen looks like. We utilize sounds from within the system to create music, write arrangements, to figure out. Sometimes we have to go through hundreds of files and audition hundreds of sounds to figure out if that particular sound is going to work for the project or not. So this is a completely technical matter. I will not get into this at the moment because that's going to be, we'll probably keep it for another time. But this is just to show you that technically, as a producer and a programmer, when you program music, you have to be very well aware of the technical aspects of music as well as programming. The next slide, please. When we create and arrange the tracks, this is what the tracks look like. Here you see some audio WAV files, and you have some MIDI files. These tracks we put together. Eventually, it goes through what is known as mixing and mastering before you get to hear it on radio or television. Next slide, please. Now, the first and foremost, we have something that we call understanding the film. Everybody reads a film very differently. When I look at a film, whether it's a 30-second film or a 60-second film, the way I would read a film would be completely different from the way the film director would read a film. And every film is very different. No two films are the same, and the way we approach music making for that particular film, it changes from film to film, from product to product, and what the film has to say. Broadly speaking, what we look at is, well, I think as I explain the films when we go, I'll explain the reading part of the film. So I think let's just go on to the next frame. I'll play you a short clipping of, is it not clear? Can you hear me now? Yeah, now I can hear myself. So before the film is made, there is a particular campaign idea that is created. And here, in this particular ad, the idea was, this is for a brand called Lux. They had a product called Lux Cozy, which was innerwear. But their idea of making this particular film was to associate with the brand ambassador, Shah Rukh Khan, because he's King Khan and he's Badshah of Bollywood. And it was not so much about selling the product as it was about associating with the number one man, therefore becoming a number one brand. Let's just play the first film, please. You'll know the behind the scenes thing you get to see on this one.
King Khan joins with Lux Cozy can mean us equal position and number one in the field which we are working with.
That's how. This is the shooting of the film.
I spoke to everyone at Lux Cozy and I said, see, you have a very strong brand name, but internationally, all strong brand names keep on coming out with new kind of products. So we came up with the name On.
Okay, so this is somewhat the idea behind making of the film. Now, when the film came to me, it was essentially a black and white film and very stylized. And the conversation that I and the film director have is, well, this film is about the brand ambassador and not the product. Therefore, the film is shot with certain montage shots. There's really nothing much happening, and the theme is success. So the music that he wanted is a theme related to success. Now, when you talk about a theme for something like success, every genre can be used to create a track that sounds like success. There is no one way of doing a track. So, but this particular film director, he gave me something, we get something called a brief, where we try to understand what exactly is the film director's vision for the film, what is he looking for. And sometimes the brief we get can range anything from being totally ambiguous and vague to being completely specific. And we'll talk more about all of these things as we move on. In this particular film, I'm just giving you an example. It's stylized, so he wanted something that doesn't scream success. He wanted something that sounds very contemporary, modern, and that just flows with the whole style. And he was very specific that he wanted me to use muted trumpet or a saxophone. So another thing that you need to, whenever I play a video, please observe a few things. We divide films into zones. Sometimes the film has zones, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on how it has been shot. When the music is created, we make, after we read the film, you may have certain points of highlight. Sometimes the highlight is a point and sometimes it's the highlight of the motion. So whenever you're watching a film, just observe how the sounds that are part of the music just flow with what is happening visually. So let's just have the track, please. The next video.
Keep it on.
Are you guys able to actually hear the audio clearly? Because it's booming for me on the stage. I don't know if you're able to hear it in a balanced way, the bass as well as the treble sounds. Is it sounding okay for you guys? Clear? Okay. So let's move on to the next one. So we break the film into zones. We figure out points of highlight. Now, when I read the film, the way I read a film, and what I feel are the highlight points, My director may not feel those are the highlight points. So when we do that, as I said, we have these discussions and then we figure out a closer way of getting close to what the person wants. Now, there's something called referencing that is done. A lot of times, the film director he is not a musician, so he can't explain to a musician what exactly he wants in the form of music. So the easiest way is to provide a reference. This is the zone, this is the kind of music I want. That's his way of making life easier for all of us. Now, there are two kinds of referencing that is done. One, where they have the reference and they want exactly what is there in the reference to be part of the final, the track. Like, for instance, this is not a film that I made. This film was done by a very good friend of mine, a fantastic musician. But just as an example for referencing, please play the first video.
खाने वाला खाएगा ना खाए वो पछताएगा जब लड्डू वाला निकल जाए फिर लड्डू कैसे आएगा.
Right? Looks like people are very familiar with where this is going. Yeah, have you seen the ad? Which ad is it? Absolutely. See, this is the reference that was given and said, this is what we want. So what they do is they change a few things. See, there is no issue with stuff like this with traditional folk and traditional music. You don't have copyright issues. But when it is copyrighted material, there is a different kind of a licensing procedure that you go through. But we won't get into all of that. But we're talking about referencing right now. This is the reference given, and the next video.
सरमाइन बहिन का ब्याह कराइन सोफा पे नवा कपड़ा चढ़ाइन बन गओ वो मिसराइन का सोफा हाय रे मिसराइन का सोफा.
So, what has the music director done there? They have changed the lyrics. They've written fresh lyrics. And they have rearranged the music and made the music work with the film, flow with the film, along with the sync points. Yeah? So next one, please. Next one, please. Now, referencing of the second kind is where reference music is provided to you just to let you know that this is the kind of a zone in which I want the job to happen. I want the music to happen. So this was a Titan track I had done many years back, and the reference was flamenco. Video one, please. Right. So this is the reference that is given to me, and the music and the film director comes to me and says, this is the kind of music I want. What is happening in the film? There is a certain interaction between a couple, husband and wife. So there is an action and there is a response. Now, when reference like this is given, it's just that it simply means this is the kind of zone in which I want you to work, but it's not to be copied in any way. So you have to make that kind of music work for the film. In the film, there is this interaction that is happening, and when I play the film, please do observe the sync points that happen, like when something drops down, when she's turning, when, the way he's handling the newspaper. You'll see many sync points that happen. It's also, while you're doing the music, it's very important to go with the motion, highlight the motion, and highlight some of those sync points also. And at the same time, this being a Titan has its already established melody, which is Mozart's 25th Symphony. I'm sure you're all aware of it. Dun, tara, ta, tara, ta, tara, tara, tara. Yeah? You guys are aware of it? Every Titan ad has this music. So this piece of music also needs to be incorporated towards the end when the product section comes up. Now, as a musician, when I look at it, I'll manage the sync points, I'll manage the highlights. But flamenco is a Spanish-Arabic scale. Mozart's 25th Symphony, that bit is a major scale. How do you try and match this complete shift from an Arabic scale to a major scale? Now, that is where my job as a musician and whatever knowledge I have about music comes into play. But that's one of the many things that you do. What I did here is I got the melody, dun, da-da-da, da-da-da. The first time I got that, it was still within the Arabic scale. And while it came to the end, when it came back into the repeat section, by then I had already managed to weave chords around it, and I brought it back to a major scale and ended the film on the major scale, but it actually sounds the way it is supposed to sound. So let's just go over the film, please. Observe the sync points, please. There are two ways in which you can highlight a point. One is by putting a sound, and one is by silence. All right, let's move on to the next one. Now, when you have, this happens very rarely in advertising, but sometimes, on very rare occasions, the music is prepared first, and the film is shot to it later. This particular ad came to me with a reference of some country pop music thing, and they said, please make a 40-second jingle with singing, and they sent me the lyrics. And I just, on the basis of the feel and the vibe of the reference that was given, I made this track. And if you observe the film carefully, there is actually nothing in the film. There is absolutely nothing in terms of visuals. It's just a bunch of montage. It just goes on and on and on. And but this is one of those films where the music completely dominates the visuals. And that is also a tactic that is used in advertising, where you can play it anywhere, and people hear it, they immediately associate with the brand. And of course, this is me singing too. Let's just go with the film, please.
Sun in my window, earth below, touch me down, don't let me go, flying high, you and me, flying high, you and me.
Kingfisher Airlines. Fly the good times.
It's just good feeling kind of a thing. And after this came out, this jingle became a reference for a lot of other ad filmmakers say, "Iska jaisa jingle banana hai." Next slide, yes. Now, there are some films where the story is very strong, or there is something that is happening, and there is a lot of dialogues. There is a message. This particular one, the message, this was done as in public interest for the Ministry of Health. And there is something, there's a message that is being conveyed. And from the way the film has been shot, the film director's perspective here was the entire message that is being conveyed is coming from the perspective of this guy who's suffering from whatever fever and Khasi and everything. And the guideline and the brief is, here's this guy who's like absolutely sick, and everybody has a solution for him. Har koi doctor ban jata hai. Jisko bhi dekho, finally, the shots toggle between the way he sees people. Suddenly everybody is a doctor, so you have lab coats. So they are dressed in lab coats because that is the way he's seeing them. And between his reaction to what he's seeing. So sometimes what is required for the film is not musical at all. It's got nothing to do with music. It's got nothing to do with the artistry of a musician. There's no art in it. The musical sound is used just to enhance a particular perspective that is being shown in the visual. Let's just go with that, please.
क्यों भाई तबीयत खराब है क्या? अरे वो पीली वाली गोली है ना, वो रखा करो यार.
जी कुछ लेता क्यों नहीं?
वो साहब, रोज एक मेरे मीटर से भी तेज दौड़ने लगोगे.
जहां सब डॉक्टर हों, वहां दवा जान की दुश्मन बन सकती है. डॉक्टर के प्रिस्क्रिप्शन पर ही दवा खरीदें और कैश मेमो लेना कभी ना भूलें.
It's a very beautiful idea. Very difficult to convey ideas like this, but a film very, very well written and well made. So there is no work for music or artistry here. You just do music to enhance what is already there. The next one, please. Now there are some films which is voiceover heavy, like from the beginning till the end, you have something or the other that is being said. There is a narrative that goes throughout the film. Now it's very, very difficult to do music for a film. Usually we don't do much because no matter what you do, the voiceover, the music will have to be ducked under the voiceover because the voiceover needs to be heard. It's more important for that to be heard. So when you duck music, there is no point in doing a lot of music when it's going to be ducked. But there are certain situations where, you know, film directors do say emotional bhi chahiye, phir happy bhi chahiye, phir bassy bhi chahiye, phir hit bhi chahiye. They want everything happening, you know, in the same go. Here was a film where the director said he wanted melody and he wanted music and he wanted it Karuna Ras, that was the favorite word, you know, Karuna Ras, he wanted. Anyway, it was one of my favorite film directors in any case. And, but he wanted music and he wanted melody and he wanted it to flow. When you see the zones in this, the initial zone, there are multiple, this ad is for Dawat Basmati rice. So the entire film, first part of it engages you. The various ways in which we use rice in our life and the emotions that are attached, that we attach to those occasions. And therefore, thereby, the corollary is we are emotionally attached to rice. Therefore, it should, you know, we should have the right kind of rice with us. Now, when you have a film like this where there is a narrative and the director demands that there be melody and there be a lot of music, then what we do is we use certain kinds of instruments which have specific frequencies that don't clash with the voiceover. Because even at low volume, the music would still cut through without in any way masking any part of the voiceover. So these are some of the things we do use. So we'll just go through this film once.
माता की आंचल के कण कण में,
माथे की लाली के प्रण में,
अखियों के आसमान में, आसमान की मुस्कान में,
रिश्तों के रंगन में, रंगन के संगम में,
खुशी दुलार सम्मान जताते हैं।
तभी तो हम दावत बासमती का हर दाना बड़े प्यार से बनाते हैं।
Okay, I think we're running out of time. I'll give you another example. Let's just move on to another. There are films where you have a story to tell. So when that happens, you don't necessarily put music throughout from the beginning till end. Just the points where you need to highlight an emotion. The music comes in and goes out. We won't play the video, we'll just go on to the next one, please. This one had a fantastic theme. The entire film is shot in slow-mo at 150 FPS. And if you want to know, this particular director wanted me to make, use Western music, a Western orchestration kind of a music. And I had the entire 60 seconds to make this music. And then I decided as a musician to use elements of fugue, counterpoint, etc. to highlight points, give the graph, as we normally do with all the films, and still make it work. Where if you want to know how to make a packet of biscuit sound royal and grand and larger than life, then this is how we do it. No, just go, please go back, play the video for this one, please. And there is nothing in this film, there is no story, there's absolutely nothing.
Sun-faced dark fantasy. Escape into one.
Next slide. We're really running out of time, so I'll quickly go through this. Incorporating catchphrases. I don't know if you remember, any of you, brew cappuccino. The film came to me, all that is there in the film is, the theme is fun. You have shots of young people sitting and sipping coffee and having fun. And the director came to me with reference of Tom Jobim. And he wanted a jingle. I said, "Do you have lyrics?" He said, "No." but you need to incorporate a catchphrase. I said, okay, so what's the catchphrase? He says, sip, lick, Okay, and anything more? So no, you just try and make a jingle with sip, lick, Is there something else we can put? I mean, there are no lyrics. You can say, sip the coffee, lick the cream. And brew also has this thing which they add towards the end in the form of either supers or a voiceover. Brew se hoti hai khushiyan shuru. Now that also needs to be incorporated. So musically, I have to take the space of bossa nova and fill up the gaps in between. So we as musicians have some tricks up our sleeves where we use some phrases like tumpa pupeya or sometimes dheem tananana or sometimes sargam to fill in for the gaps that we have. And let's quickly run through this one, please. No, the video for the previous one. Can we just move on to the next one, please? Next one, please. So finally, it is all about understanding perspectives. There are as many perspectives as there are people. And when you look at perspectives, you can place everyone anywhere on a 360-degree radial. And it's so important to understand what other people are thinking. And that's the most difficult part also, because when people speak and try and express themselves, they're not really, you can't really make out what they mean, what they imply. And you face these problems when, particularly when you don't know what the mindset of the director is. Where is the director coming from? How does he process information? What are his preferences? When you don't know these things, you do face quite a few issues. And with one last funny story, I will wind up this talk. This particular film, I was working with this director for the first time. I had no clue what kind of thought process he had. He gave me a long brief. And when I looked at the film, it was for coconut oil, and the theme is Khushbu. It looked like a very regular film. So I did, with all the graphs and highlights, what I think normally works. And when I presented the music to him, he looked at it and said, "No, I don't like it. This doesn't work for me." So I said, "Okay." We are used to these things. We are used to hearing a no. We are used to, So I said, "Okay, so what exactly are you looking for?" So he tried to explain again. I didn't understand. So I asked him, do you have some kind of a reference that you would like to play to me where, it'll give me a much better idea? I said, yes, I can get you. And he gets me this track. I wear the headphones and I start listening. It goes ding, 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 ding. Went on for 4 bars. I said, okay, now it'll move on. Ding, 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 ding. It went on for another 8 bars. I said, okay, now something is going to happen. It still went on ding, ding for the next 1 minute. And I looked at this guy and said, "Isme to kuch bhi nahi hai. What is there in this?" "No, but that is what it is. There is a pulse in this. You see that pulse? That is music for me. That does something to me." I said, okay. So you want me to you start with the pulse. You can do it. You can do it. He stepped out of the studio, and I was absolutely perplexed. And the person who's closest to you inside the studio is the sound engineer, because he's the one who knows music more than anybody else out there. And so I looked at the guy and I said, "Tere ko kuch samajh mein aaya kya?" So that guy looks at me and said, So I said, what do you think I should do? Pulse lagao? Pulse? So I started off the track with ding, 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 ding. I started with the pulse like that. Now, one note. How long are you going to hear it? It was crazy. And then I said, like, okay, after 4 bars of that, I said, let me at least change the notes. And I said, like, ding, 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 ding. And then I went on till the end of the track. He says, like, I mean, you can't call this music. And I said, okay, let me put a little piano somewhere. And sparsely I placed it. And then I said, like, I can't think beyond this. I don't know what this guy wants. So I called the director back and said, like, played it to him. Yes, this works. This works for me. And I was like, are you serious? And he said, nahi, bas, kafi hai, ye ho gaya. Of course, the film also has some narrative happening throughout. I said, like, dude, this is not working for me. I'm sorry, but I can't give you one ting-ting from beginning till end and say I've done music. This is not working for me. You have to, like, allow me to do something more. So what more are you talking about? I said, like, what if we tried maybe doing some alap on the top? No, I don't want any singing happening. No, it won't be singing, but we'll try and do something ethereal and just add a little texture. So, like, don't make it very heavy. Now, I said, like, you give me some words so I can use those. From the narrative, we picked out, like, khushboo ye kehti hai, bithati hai, uthati hai. You have a whole bunch of things. We just picked up some stuff from there, and I sang. And then once he came back, I presented it to him. And he says, brilliant, this is brilliant, I love it, it's beautiful. And it's a huge sigh of relief. I finished the track, I added a few more things, and just to make it a little more sparkly and fine-tuned a few things. And you see, there's a lot of tension we go through in the studio because you never know. Of course, I went on to do many more films for this guy. Eventually, and by the time, like, I knew, okay, where this guy comes from, what he likes, what he doesn't like. But ultimately, the interaction is about understanding perspectives. And 18 years of doing this work, you learn many, many valuable lessons in life. You learn to talk less. You learn to listen more. You learn to observe more. And you learn to be very, very patient. We'll just go over the film, and with that, I'll end my talk. The Ting Ting film.
खुशबू एक नए सफर की खुशी जताती है। खुशबू पहली कामयाबी का ऐलान कर जाती है। कभी सौंधी सी बहार का संदेशा लाती है। कुछ भूला याद दिलाती है। अपनों से दूरियां मिटाती है। मासूमियत का एहसास कराती है। खुशबू शुद्धता की भी पहचान कराती है। नेचुरल नारियल तेल, सन रोस्टेड नारियलों की खास खुशबू के साथ। नेचुरल, क्योंकि खुशबू बोलती है।
Next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you.